X. Well, the IS video comes as a storm is developing in the Middle East with the confrontation between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It's diplomatic at the moment, of course, but it is a furious row. It all follows Saudi Arabia's execution of a leading Shia Muslim cleric. It sparked protests in Iran against the Saudi embassy, protests which were strongly condemned by the UN Security Council. Since then, a number of countries have joined Saudi Arabia in expelling Iranian officials and cutting diplomatic relations. Bahrain and Sudan have both severed relations. The United Arab Emirates have downgraded their diplomatic team. There's a lot going on. Nabila Ramdani joins us, journalist and commentator on the Middle East. How would you characterise this relationship between Saudi Arabia and Iran, Nabila?
Well, I think the first thing to say really is that this is a story about two countries who have been at loggerheads for many years, and the differences have often descended into extreme aggression and indeed violence. Without getting too involved into Islamic theology, Saudi Arabia is predominantly a Sunni nation, while Iran is largely a Shia country. And tensions between the two got particularly serious in 2011, for example, after an alleged Iranian plot to assassinate Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the US. Riyadh had then said that Tehran would pay a heavy price. So that's a very brief bit of recent background to this dispute, which is specifically about capital punishment this time. And one of the main reasons countries like Britain do not have capital punishment is because mistakes can easily be made, and also because the execution of criminals can be used politically. And in this case, Saudi Arabia decided to execute 47 men. There were proven terrorists among them, but the Shia cleric Nimr he was also killed, and he was a prominent cleric sentenced to death in 2014 after a Saudi court convicted him on a host of vague charges, apparently based largely on his peaceful criticism of Saudi officials.
Well, presumably the Saudis were very well aware of what the reaction would be to the decision to execute him.
Well, yes, absolutely. And perhaps more worryingly, one of the consequences is that the Iran supreme leader has vowed divine revenge on Saudi Arabia. The two countries are now comparing each other to ISIS, and tensions are really at boiling point, and deepening tensions between the two regional powers. It must be said that these two powers are already involved in proxy wars in the area. In Yemen, for example, the Shia Houthis are supported by Iran and being bombarded by Saudis. In Syria, for example, Bashar al-Assad of Syria is backed by Shias, including countries like Iran, while Saudi Arabia is backing armed terrorists in the opposition.
There is an attempt going on to solve the problem of Syria internationally, and some people see this incident as a major blow to the hopes of getting anything done.
Well, absolutely, and especially so since it will be harder now to get an Arab coalition which is united against the fight against ISIS effectively. But I think this incident has to be put in the context of Saudi Arabia's history of carrying out mass execution. This latest round of execution is the largest mass execution in the country since 1980, and this follows 158 executions in 2015. So all this further stains Saudi Arabia's troubling human rights record. And it also has to be put in the context of Saudi Arabia systematic discrimination against its own Shia citizens, who constitute 10 to 15% of the population.
Thank you very much, Nabila Ramdani, a specialist in Middle East matters.